Today on Rappler.
They may be using this as a ploy in order to get testimony about the cases filed in the Ombudsman.
Dean Jose Manuel Jocno says summoning the Ombudsman to the witness stand may be a defense ploy. Filipinos protest Beijing's arrogance in the Scarborough Shoal dispute.
Tatamaan at tatamaan ka, wala akong pakialam, pati asawa mo tatamaan sa akin.
If they didn't go on television, probably, we could exact revenge.
And Mon Tulfo talks about Tulfo testosterone and revenge. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. We promise uncompromised journalism that hopefully inspires smart conversations and ignites a thirst for change. Dean Jose Manuel Jocno says summoning the Ombudsman plus 9 others as hostile witnesses is, quote, legal suicide. But he warns it could also be a defense ploy.
The focus they wouldn't be able to get.
If this is legal suicide, what's the defense? What is the defense after?
I'm not sure. It could be possibly a prelude for them to raise that issue before the Supreme Court. You see, there's that pending petition about the foreign currency deposits.
Correct.
They may be using this as a ploy in order to get testimony about the cases filed in the Ombudsman, in order not only to stop the presentation of the foreign currency evidence in the impeachment, but possibly even to stop the Ombudsman cases.
But as it stands right Last February, the Supreme Court issued a temporary restraining order, or TRO, preventing the impeachment court from opening records of Corona's dollar accounts. Jocno says the defense can file a supplemental petition and ask the High Court to expand the coverage of its restraining order to include the Ombudsman's evidence.
Ombudsman cases.
But as it stands right now, can the Ombudsman's investigation be used in the impeachment trial?
Well, it's the defense that called the Ombudsman to the stand, so they have no choice now. Anything that the Ombudswoman says on the witness stand is their evidence, whether they like it or not.
How do you put this together? Because the Supreme Court and the Senate ruled against using dollar deposits in the impeachment earlier,
well,
correct?
There's a TRO only, as far as I know, and no final judgment yet.
The TRO is there. So now that TRO has been pushed aside by this development, is that correct?
It's possible that they may ask for a new restraining order on the basis of these disclosures.
But if the Supreme Court does issue another restraining order, Jocno says the High Court is headed for a collision course with the Senate, a scenario that happened when the Supreme Court first issued a TRO. The Senate respected the court's ruling then, but if the Supreme Court stops the Senate once again, what will happen? Jocno says, quote, there could be a clash between the two. Well, the anti-China rally that agitated Beijing with 1,000 Filipinos expected pushed through Friday morning, except only 400 came. The protesters sing and dance to the tune of Kung Fu Fighting. The rally, scheduled for noon in other parts of the world, took place outside the Chinese embassy in Makati City for less than an hour. Waving national flags, the protesters asked Chinese ships to back off from disputed Scarborough Shoal, where both nations have stationed ships for more than a month. Rally organizer Lloyd and Nicholas Lewis, a prominent businesswoman in the United States, says, quote, our protest is directed at the overbearing actions and stance of the government in Beijing, which behaves like an arrogant overlord even in the homes of its neighbors. The protesters carried placards that read, China, stop bullying the Philippines, and China, stop poaching in Philippine waters. Only in the Philippines. In Hong Kong, protesters holding a mask of Philippine President Aquino and pictures of warships demonstrated outside the Philippine consulate. They demand Philippine warships retreat from the disputed Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. It would have been a tit-for-tat gesture to the Manila protest had it not been for one glaring detail. There were only 8 protesters there. For our 2013 election update, former President Joseph Estrada registers as a voter in the city of Manila Thursday, an important move because he says he plans to run for mayor. Estrada was a longtime resident and mayor of San Juan City. Manila City Vice Mayor Isko Moreno accompanies Estrada. Moreno, the running mate of incumbent Mayor Alfredo Lim, is said to be Estrada's running mate in next year's polls. The Commission on Elections requires a new voter to be a resident at least 6 months before Election Day. More on the 2013 elections, will Senator Manny Villar join forces with his former rival's political party? Maybe, maybe not. Villar says his Nacionalista party is considering all options for the 2013 elections, including a possible alliance with the Liberal Party of President Benigno Aquino III. In 2010, Villar and Aquino were bitter rivals for the presidency. Nacionalista party head Manny Villar says, "We're ready to talk to all parties, to LP and to others. We are also ready to go solo." Senator Villar is finishing his last term and his wife confirms she plans to run for the Senate in 2013. U.S. President Barack Obama's endorsement of same-sex marriage caught Republicans off guard. It must now decide whether to make gay rights a key campaign issue in the upcoming elections. Mitt Romney, the Republican nominee, reiterates his opposition to gay marriage. He adds, states should be allowed to, quote, to determine what rights would be provided for people of the same gender who wanted to have a relationship. Republican Mike Huckabee says, quote, this is going to be a defining issue this elections. Will Obama's landmark position create ripples in the Philippines? It's a question answered under our thought leaders by Jonas Bagas of Akbayan. Bagas says, quote, I don't expect Obama's endorsement of same-sex marriage to have an impact here. He calls it, quote, historic and an inspiring gesture, but adds, don't hold your breath, it won't alter anything here fundamentally. Still, he says the mood is changing and there's greater openness. Bagas says social media has democratized access to a wider range of narratives, creating a climate that could help dismantle oppressive stereotypes. Read more about his reference to the Catholic Taliban, what he calls the Roman Catholic Church in the Philippines, on Rappler.com. U.S. banking giant J.P. Morgan Chase says it lost $2 billion in derivatives since March in what a bank executive calls a, quote, flawed and poorly executed trading operation. The same executive says the bank may face another $1 billion in losses through the end of June due to market volatility. J.P. Morgan shares fell nearly 7% in after-hours trade. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 7, 55 people die in attacks in Syria. The terrorist suicide attacks involved 2 car bombs in Damascus, destroying Syria's intelligence agency building. It's described as the single deadliest attack since the government crackdown in March 2011. The government blames terrorists for the attack, but rival factions say only the government has the technical capability to carry them out. At number 8, the double agent who helped intelligence agencies foil an Al-Qaeda underwear bomb plot is a British citizen of Middle Eastern origin, according to an official familiar with the operation. He is safe somewhere in Saudi Arabia. British intelligence allegedly helped recruit the spy. At number 9, Marvel Comics is on a roll. After Avengers made box office history, it rolls out an exclusive digital comics partnership with Comixology, an online comic distribution powerhouse. This means thousands of Marvel Comics past issues will be distributed by Comixology on its own Marvel application and online store. By June 2012, every issue of a Marvel comic will be available digitally. And at number 10, Cebu Pacific's magazine Smile is voted among the world's best airline magazines by CNN's travel site. CNNGo.com says the magazine's youthful charm won them over. The layout and prose is nothing special, they say, but, quote, frequent portraits of ordinary people having a good time echo the magazine's spontaneous, low-key voice. Bikers gather in Baguio City for an adventure with a cause to help build forests in the Cordilleras. Rappler's Voltaire Tupas reports.
Rappler is in Baguio for the 3rd Cordillera Challenge. 2 summits to conquer, 27 kilometers to dash. 280 bikers have gathered in this cold city for a race with a cause to help build forests in the Cordilleras. The bikers traversed Mount Santo Tomas, the southwestern entrance to the Cordilleras, and Mount Cabuyao, the site of a water catchment.
An upland area. It's a catch basin. And it's also a watershed reservoir. So we really need to maintain the forest cover in this area.
The uphill biking adventure raised funds to establish 20 seedling nurseries in public elementary schools across the Cordilleras. The road to the finish line is as difficult as the challenge to save the rich Cordillera Mountains. Steep ascents, tricky descents, formidable rocks, just like the vested interests that threaten forests in the region. 16-year-old James Dakayanan, the youngest among the bikers, says he joins protests against the cutting of pine and alnos trees in Baguio.
Tagal naman ng pong puno dito yan sa Baguio, bakit pa nila puputulin? Tsaka hindi naman po kailangan yung extension sapat naman na po yung SM.
James biked all 3 tracks, from the easiest to the most difficult, and beat everyone to the finish line. For many participants, it is not really a race, but a chance to show support.
Pero okay naman, na-enjoy ko naman yung ride. Actually, it's yung effort ng lahat to help conserve yung ating Cordillera Forest. So, I took part and I'm glad and proud na nakatulong kahit paano.
Pakahirap ako ng ganito. What I saw was enough to keep the passion alive in just giving back to our country.
Voltaire Tupas, Rappler, Baguio City.
Jessica Sanchez convinces America it isn't time for her to go after a breathtaking performance of Dreamgirls' hit song, And I'm Telling You, I'm Not Going. All 3 judges gave her a standing ovation, her 6th. Online, text, and phone voters pushed the 16-year-old Jessica to the top 3, only the 2nd time someone with Filipino roots has made it this far. Jasmine Trias was the first in Season 3 of American Idol. Sanchez enters the top 3 with Philip Phillips and Joshua Ledet. More on the ongoing controversy with the Tulfo brothers, who used their TV5 program to threaten a celebrity couple who fought with their elder brother, Mon. Here are excerpts from Patricia Evangelista's interview with Mon Tulfo.
Alam po namin, kanina pa ho ninyong inaantay ang reaksyon po namin magkakapatid sa pangyayari po kahapon.
Didn't you smell testosterone, plenty of it at work during the episode? Tulfo testosterone. Pure, unadulterated, primitive. I feel sad that when they went on television, they didn't consult me. Otherwise, what they did, that was very unacceptable.
Doon sa mga sangkot, pakinggan nyo ang sasabihin ko, read my lips. Di pa tapos.
Oh my God, oh my God. What are those guys doing? Oh my God. Yeah, you know, it's, wow. Stupid guys.
Huwag lang sana tayo magpanginabot sa mall. Idasal mo, iho di PI ka.
They shouldn't be saying those things on television.
Tatamaan at tatamaan ka, wala akong pakialam, pati asawa mo tatamaan sa akin.
If they didn't go on television, probably, we could exact revenge. We've been stopped, dead on our tracks. Even if we don't do it, we will become natural suspects. And then, that's what I'm scared of.
Let's go on to Pangasinan for an update on the Palarong Pambansa. Natasha Gutierrez is there live. Natasha, what do you have for us today?
Well, Maria, only the best of the best have events left for tomorrow, because that's when the rest of the games that's when the finals for the rest of the games rather are scheduled. Now, for those who didn't make the cut, like this boxer, their losses only serve as inspiration to do better.
Billy Reyna Elgas has been boxing since he was 6. Unlike most, his mother pushed him to fight. His father, a tricycle driver, drives him to training every day.
Gisama-sama lang po ako sa training po ng kuya ko po. Tapos doon po nagsimula ako magboxing.
His 12th birthday is the same day as his Palarong Pambansa semi-finals fight. He loses the bout and settles for bronze. But he says his fights here are much easier than those at home. Billy Ray is from Palawan, where boxing at a young age is the norm. Even before Manny Pacquiao, kids in their town box to provide entertainment.
Yun ang hobby po namin kasi masaya tuwing sa barangay magpaboxing, maraming taong nanonood.
Boxing is Mima Ropa's pride, and Billy Ray is a star at home for making it to Palaro. But being a young boxer is difficult. Training is intense, and so is making weight.
Biro mo, mag-reduce po yan. Dalahan lang namin ng sabaw. Yung sabaw lang talaga ang pinapakain namin. Tapos kunting kanin. Minsan pinapakain namin ng yung mansanas lang. Pinapakain namin yan. Talagang mahirap talaga sa boxing, ma'am. Hirap. Opo, hirap kasi biro mo gutom yan. Diyan makatulog kasi gutom.
But Billy Ray is willing to make all the sacrifices. He says he will keep boxing to make money, get a scholarship, and help his family. Billy Ray may have missed the gold, but the fight to a better life continues.
Many athletes here usually qualify for the games more than once, so we're expecting a lot of athletes to actually return next year, unless of course they graduate from high school or they get invited to train with the national team. Maria.
Natasha, you've been there all week. Lots of records that were broken this week. What happened today?
I'm sorry, Maria?
What happened today?
Today, well, there was a lot of rain, which actually postponed some of the events that were scheduled to take place, but everything that was supposed to take place did eventually finish. In softball, champions Western Visayas and arch rival NCR will meet in the finals for secondary girls yet again as they did last year. And in athletics, that ended today, but we do not yet have official results, although it will most likely be between NCR and Western Visayas, both of which have dominated athletics events. For more updates, of course, we have the latest news and medal tallies at our microsite under Rappler.com.
Natasha, is there a moment that stands out in your mind, something you'll remember for a long time?
Yes, actually, Maria, there was one specific event wherein I just got chills. One of the girls from Western Visayas, who's actually an elementary student, broke 2 records in the games here. She broke the 800-meter record as well as the 1500-meter record. But what's most impressive about her runs is that she actually races barefoot. This is actually a trend that we noticed. Many of the girls prefer not to wear shoes, and they take it off right before their event. And it's pretty inspiring to see them race and win.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to hearing more from you, Natasha Gutierrez, live from Pangasinan. That's Rappler's Newscast for today, Friday, May 11th, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today. We leave you with some fascinating, stunning images from Palarong Pambansa. Have closed it with, we leave